This edition of West Ham Fan TV's Midweek Musings is sponsored by OneFootball, the app that lets you look at all the stats, all the facts and all the great stuff about football. Go and download it now. The link is in the description down below. What's happening, everyone? Nicky Hawkins here, West Ham Fan TV, back once again with another video, with another Musings. It's the show where I pick you 3 subjects. I have my say, then you have your say. This week was quite a tasty one. We haven't done one of these in a while, since I come back from holiday at least. So let's get straight into the subjects because I'm running low on battery on my laptop. Question 1 was, January is fast approaching. We are in a rich vein of form, but if we could sign players for that final push, what positions would you enforce? Now, for me, a centre midfielder is a must. We're a little bit light there. You know, Snoddy's gone in there. Also Declan's had to go in there this season, but with Jack Wilshere, injuries all the time. Nobes has been suspended. Obiang not in a good form. A centre midfielder for me is a must, and we've got to reinforce those 2 full-back positions because we're getting a little bit light there as well. Let's see what you guys had to say. Nick Marsh, that Marshy Boy 26, says left and right backs all day long, mate. Gio Mackie says left back so we can finally have a settled back 5, plus we can get a decent fee for Masuaku or Cresswell to recoup some of the outlay. So he's saying we have to sell one of them 2. Need a centre mid 2, but they cost serious money, so we have to wait until the summer. Nasri will be a clever, risk-free signing. Joshua Lister 8 says full backs, 1 on each side. JG57 says, I think we need a box-to-box midfielder. Someone like Moy is realistic and would strengthen our squad. I don't know whether they're going to let him, want to let him go. Emerson WHUFC says, right back, replace cover Zaba if he leaves. Left back, make us more solid and reliable on the back, and Masuaku can push up and be a backup left wing. Centre midfielder, box-to-box, could help defensively and better with transitioning, and arguably a striker, not confident being reliant on Perez or Carroll. Mark Sherburn Brown says he agrees with him. I would like a more creative midfielder in the centre of the park though. At Irons Boy, Jamie says left back, attacking mid, right back. At Jamie Gill says left back, a central midfielder with a lot of energy, and right back to cover Zabaleta, possibly on loan. At Josh Ferris says, on a different note but player related, are you also of the same view that Winston Reid could potentially have played his last game for us and would struggle to make the squad, given a superb partner between Balbuena and Diop? No, I don't think Reid's played his last game. I think there's a long way out of the season to go, and we need cover at some point, trust me, when you look at our injury records. Josh Ferris says left back, Cresswell no longer the player he was, and Masuaku is defensively non-existent. We would continually get attacked down the left and solidify that position. We would be much more stable in defence with Balbuena, Diop and Zabaleta. I've got to take a couple more. John Phillips says left and right backs and a striker when we seal Carroll. We're pretty safe in other areas. Will Wells says right back and Zaba for a left back. Right back up for Zaba, left back a CM and maybe even another striker. All the same positions coming up. Greg Hobbs says definitely both full-back positions, not sure on Fredericks. One more, Ali Shah says it all depends on whether Hernandez will stay or go, but we definitely need a right back to cover for Zaba. And another midfielder due to the injuries, Sanchez and Wilshere still having problems. We need another midfielder to provide competition. Right, so that's question number 1 out of the way. Now, question number 2 this week. Racism has been a hot topic after the alleged incident between Sterling and the Chelsea fan. My spelling is awful. I'm just checking this now. Sorry, it's probably it's probably spell check. What punishment should be handed out for such abuse, and is racism still evident at football in your opinion? Now, I didn't get too many replies on this one, so we'll go through this one really quickly. You guys had to say we can't dish out punishment until people at the top are punished. Diane Abbott, I don't know, politics ain't my strong suit. John Phillips says lifetime bans and re-education as to where there is no place for it under any circumstances. This has been a problem in football since the 80s. It's died down quite a lot, and obviously it's a problem. It's always going to be a problem in football. Like, if it's going on, it's a problem, but it isn't evident. And most people now that I have met are against it. So if they hear it, they fight against it. You know what I mean? There's no place for it in football, and you know, I know that it will be pointed out time and time again. Once they catch someone doing it, then they're going to be under the scrutiny. The Chelsea fan, obviously, he refutes what he says. It's alleged. For me, I watched the video, it seems pretty clear what he said. I think he's just riding on the back of what a couple of other people have defended him already. And then they went away to Europe on Thursday, and there's anti-Semitic chanting. Now, there's a line, isn't there? There's a line between banter and racism, and you know, there's no place for it in football anymore. And I think, you know, people are not ignorant anymore. They're very educated. It's in the mainstream media like quite a lot. They know people, they know friends that, you know, are not in that mindset anymore. So if you get caught doing it, and I know you can get caught up at football doing silly things, etc., but there is no place to call someone what that Chelsea fan is alleged to have called Raheem Sterling. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. I mean, there's so many other words. The word mank could have been used in place of it, as he alleged it is. But for me, it seems pretty clear. He could call him a silly, whatever. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing. And, you know, education on it is, you know, there's advertisements and campaigns on it that's gone on for so long. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're saying. And lifetime ban for me is you know, is the only way forward, because you don't want them people who are in that mindset when the world is educated and you know, we all know that saying those words are wrong now. You know, it's not the 80s where you can get away with it and everyone's of the same mindset, and you know, there's education on it, there's, you know, there's ramifications. And a lifetime, I don't want to sit next to them people at football. Me personally, I don't want to sit next to someone that thinks that way. So a lifetime ban for me is the only way forward. And then the law gets involved, because it's wrong. Anyway, back onto what you say. Nick the Hammer, lifetime ban from all UK stadiums and £1,000 fine and a year in prison. Exactly, Nick. Ali Shah says they should be publicly shown and given a lifetime ban so that they know racism isn't tolerated anymore, and publicly shown so everyone knows who the racist individuals are. And one more, West Ham fans against fascism said football grounds should be the place where all racists and fascists feel totally uncomfortable shouting any abuse. We need them to fear the backlash of the people around them. Time to stamp out racist and fascist views once and for all. And I totally agree with that. Last and not least, now I admit I got this one totally wrong. I'm the one that tweeted out the questions. I thought that 60,000 were in place for Crystal Palace because there was some tarpaulin taken off of the seats. So number 3, 60,000 seats were available for the first time against Crystal Palace, and not, by the way, it's Brighton that they are. But the point stays the same. With empty seats banning around, the problem being cited as the club selling tickets to non-fans during initial ticket selling. How do we now combat this to make sure the seats are being filled? Now I've said this is the problem from the get-go with this scheme, with this +1, +2. I know for a fact that there was more than West Ham fans buying season tickets when the tickets went on sale and you could bring 2 of your mates. They was frightened that they could not fill the stadium. It's fact. It's fact. They was frightened that they wouldn't fill the stadium. And now, 3 years on, the tickets are, you know, people saying making tickets cheaper and all this sort of stuff when the 60,000 came. Our tickets are the cheapest in the country. I'm quite proud of that as well. Our tickets are the cheapest in the country. They're very affordable. My season ticket is very affordable. It works out to something like £25 a game, or something around that price range, and I think that's very reasonable for my seat and where I sit. And I don't think the tickets need to be lowered in price. What I do think needs to happen, however, they need to monitor. And people keep on saying if they're not available for a certain amount of games, and if they're not this, if they're not that, look, they pay for their ticket and they are quite entitled. If they don't want to come, they're not quite entitled not to come. They cannot, they shouldn't be, you know, issued a renewal chance if they don't attend a certain amount of games, unless there's mitigating circumstances, you know, like you go in hospital or you know, you're working away for a long time or whatever like that. But you know, the people that and they can monitor this. I mean, the technologies with the scanning of the cards and whatever, they can monitor who goes in for what game. So if you've got, say, for instance, one person that goes in and he goes to the Man United, Chelsea and Tottenham game every year, chances are that he's a fan of one of them teams, or he's a fan of another team that just wants to come and see the big boys when they're in town. And then it's down to the club to start, you know, not offering the renewal chance, and then say to them, look, we're not going to offer you a chance for renewal, but there's a deadline in which you can send a letter in and explain to us, you know, what happened and why you haven't been attending games. But look, you can't really punish someone for not coming, because it's their choice at the end of the day. But West Ham have made their bed, now they need to lie in it, and now they need to find an issue. They need to find an answer to the issue. The seat should be filled. There are people that, you know, I see moaning on Twitter, left week in, week out, about not being able to get tickets, going into ballots and all that sort of stuff. I also see that they're not too keen to go to the stadium, like when general sale tickets get on sale, like for the, you know, the cup games and games against, you know, Burnley and things like that. You know, the people that are moaning about not getting tickets are the same people that don't want to attend the Burnley and the games like that. You know, everyone that has a season ticket should want to attend every single game. It should only be mitigating circumstances that you don't. It's obvious that people have bought them to sell them on. It's obvious that people don't support the club and they just turn up when the big boys come into town, Man City, Man United. It's down to West Ham to sort that out and make sure that the tickets are in the hands of proper West Ham fans. Now, there is a lot of answers on this one. A lot of them telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, which is you know, it's quite evident. Right, so Black Barking Runner. Sorry. Where did they install the new seats? They were still covered seats under the roof, or a buffer for 66. As I said, I don't know what I'm talking about. Stevie Taylor, CVT 1969, says total bollocks. They are not available, and if they was, we apparently have a 50,000 waiting list, so sell them, no problem. No. WHU FC COYI, 60,000 was available against Paris. Karen Brady says Brighton at home could be our first 60k game. Yeah, I know, I got it wrong. Denise Hardy says the club should monitor whether tickets for certain seats regularly appear in reselling sites. If they do, they should not be allowed to renew. At Jack Miles says, I swear the 60k isn't available to next year. I know, Jack, I made a big mistake. At Mick Hannon says, I rang about my grandson's seat as he was on the waiting list, but seats available more miles away with no possibility of him sitting near me. Meanwhile, he sits next to me anyway, as the seats near me are always empty. Look, there's seats near me that are always empty. Always empty. Early Kai's Hat says lower ticket prices. I don't think that's a problem. At Skin Ends, he says, I was told I could buy a half-season ticket for my daughter who's on the waiting list. When I phoned up, I was told I had to buy an adult ticket next to her and couldn't move my seat. Then told I could relocate my seat, but only bound one left, so I need to pay £500 on my season ticket upgrade. Yeah, sure. It's convenient, that, isn't it? You know what I mean? For the club. Bear in mind that the new seats available are not going to be band one seats. That, along with £150 for her ticket 12 days before Christmas, it was not possible, unfortunately. At Nigel Wise said, had similar bollocks. 4-year-old was apparently top of the list, but can't move me and other son unless I pay one for all three of us. So he goes bottom of the list. Really bad when they're charging people for that, you know. Paul Turner says, first game at 60k is Brighton, I think. You'll find, yes, I know, Paul. Gavin Smith says, get your facts right. Gavin, you're totally right. I should have done my due diligence and I should have got my facts right, but it doesn't excuse the question. The question is still valid. Alex Young says, incorrect. Jamie Gill says, keep track of which seats are empty each game, and if seats are empty for a certain amount of games, and don't let them renew their seat. Totally right. David Clairhugh, don't think that we'll ever fill those 60,000 seats while we sell them for a price that a lot of fans seem to see as a new throwaway price that lets them turn up for 5 games a year. Too many tourists. Maybe that is the problem, and this is a stupid thing to think, but maybe they're too cheap. They're too affordable, so people can just get them and, as you say, turn up for 4 or 5 games, like the 289 seats. Turn up for 4 or 5 games, and they've got full value, paying less money than they would pay if they bought 5 individual tickets. John Phillips, the empty seats in the South East Up are apparently the free seats that the council give away. TV streaming is slowly killing attendance at games and the atmosphere. Look, you can't do anything about TV games, John. Mark WHUFC, the question is a very valid question, but 60k wasn't available for this game or until the new year, mate. I apologise once again. Bomber says club website says 60k available for Brighton. You're totally correct. If they don't attend at least 50-60% of games, Nick the Hammer says, then don't let them renew. Also, if tickets make general sale, then prices should be reduced. Ali Shah says, I say that there are, I would say if there are still empty seats, there's 4 days left until the game, they should email fans and reduce the price of tickets and make sure it's full and packed with actual West Ham fans. Roy Lovelock says, I'm going to just have to cut this off because we're going on well too long. Roy Lovelock says, our friend gave up his last season when we tried to make the club, refused point blankly. Now the season ticket holder comes about 30% of the games. And Paul Kelly says, don't think 60,000 are available yet, but nonetheless the empty seats are a problem. From my seat in the East Stand, I can see why there are always large number of empty seats in the West Lower. I guess they might be corporates. Something needs to be done come renewal time. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of West Ham Fan TV's on the Social. I'll be back later on today when we go to Fulham with all the fan cams. We'll be back with a post-match reaction after that, and then we'll be going into the next week with all the new content. Thank you very much for getting involved in on the Social. We're going to do another one next week, and one thing left to say, boys, come on you Irons.